We've all heard the song before, and we all know it. That deep, raspy voice over the speakers we hear. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. We all know it, either from radio, movie, TV, or if you have a wide range of music variety, Joey Ramone from the Ramones. But what we don't really know is who that man really was. We didn't know that man, Louis Armstrong, who was not only a jazz musician, but also a goodwill ambassador worldwide. So today I'm going to discuss his life, his music, and most importantly, his global impact. First, we're going to look at the life of Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong was born in New Orleans during the 1900s, early 1900s. He was born August 4th, 1901. However, there is some controversy about that because Louis Armstrong later on was known to embellishing the truth and lying about his age. And so there's numerous records that say he was born in 1900 or 1898. And he would often give the birth date of 4th of July. In James Lincoln's book, Louis Armstrong, the American Genius, he quotes an interview between jazz researcher Phil Schaff and Zutty Singleton, Armstrong's closest friend. And he says, "Louis and me were always the same age. Then suddenly, he is 2 years younger than me." So that goes to show more of his personality and how he embellished the truth and always kind of lied about things. But as I said, a lot of scholars like to believe he was born on August 4th, 1901. And he was born in New Orleans during this time. And if you think about that, that was a very rough time of severe racism and segregation. And often, Louis Armstrong would think about it and have very heavy resentments against that. Also, his family life was very hard. His dad completely left them when he was born, and his mother was 17 when she had him. And he grew up kind of around the streets. He grew up around prostitutes, and he was around brothels all the time. And so it's kind of a little controversial on how he lived his life. However, when he was older, around 11 years old, he became somewhat unofficially adopted by a Jewish family called the Karnofskis. This Jewish, in Elizabeth Brom's book, Louis Armstrong Jazz Legend, she talks about his job and how he would ride on their junk wagon and he blew a big tin horn. The horn reminded people to bring out their bottles, rags, or whatever they wanted to sell. Now, this is also where he got the beginning of where he started to love that horn and started to love the sounds he made. And he would cup it and make different noises with it. And through that relationship with the Karnofskis, Louis Armstrong began to explore his passion for music. As I mentioned, he became very fond with them. And then the Karnofskis saw this, and they bought him his first cornet. Now, a cornet is a certain type of trumpet, really. Not very different from any normal trumpet you see. And they bought him that, and later on it's recorded that he was able to recreate everything for that. And he began to play that all the time. And the Karnofskis taught him more about music. He is quoted to have said, "When I reached the age of 11, I began to realize it was the Jewish family who instilled in me the singing from the heart." And that really captures the Jewish family's influence on him and his music. Later on, he went to go to a boarding school, and he became a band leader there and playing the cornet. And once again, he eventually dropped out of the boarding school and once again went back almost to street life and began to play in brothels with different bands and meeting people and in different jazz clubs and so forth. And later on, he would make his debut by playing his first solo in a song called Chimes Blues. And from there, he became somewhat recognizable. But what really sets him apart is his combination of a genre called scat and jazz. Scat is where you use your voice and you use the different sounds and syllables to turn it into its own instrument. And he was the first to combine that with jazz music. And that's what would set him apart. Elizabeth Braun, Louis Armstrong, and jazz legend, she writes, combining the words of scat with jazz music was a new idea. Many people believed Armstrong invented scat. He didn't. But when he combined scat singing with jazz music, Armstrong changed American music forever. Now, Armstrong's music led him to be popular among many groups of people. And this leads us to our final point, is his world impact. He became a privileged person in a predominantly white culture. Where everything was segregated, but yet he was able to walk among white people and do everything. And this was around the 1960s when the Civil Rights Movement was starting to really take wing, and he was a quiet supporter of that. However, his music became so popular, though, and everyone started to really relate to his stuff, relate to his music. And Sam Tannenhouse, from his book Louis Armstrong, wrote, so popular was Armstrong outside the United States that in 1960, the State Department enlisted him to make a series of long-distance tours meant to improve international relations. And that's when he became the Goodwill Ambassador and became worldwide. And in conclusion, he was a jazz musician from New Orleans. He embellished the truth, but his inspiration came from his background. And he went to become a Goodwill Ambassador, promoting relations